UFC 293 is coming this weekend, and guys, today I'm going to be breaking down the entire UFC card. We're going to go through every single fight on the card. I'm going to give my breakdown, my prediction. I'm going to talk about if I'm going to be potentially betting on any of these fights. We're going to get into those fights in just a second. Before we do, though, I do want to say hello, everybody, and welcome back to another video. If you are new here, my name is Kyle. I am your guy with too many YouTube channels. Guys, timestamps are down below if you'd like to skip to any particular fight. I do want to say one more thing before we get into these fights. I don't know if my mic's picking up. I apologize. I'm in the process of moving right now, and my room is pretty echoey. The only thing in my room right now is my setup here and the monitor that you see behind me. So again, I don't know if my mic's picking it up. I apologize. Stick with me. We're going to get everything back to normal on the channel within probably a few days. So thank you so much for being here. Guys, again, timestamps are there if you'd like to skip to any part of the video. Let's start off with the early prelim opener. Starting off with the first fight, we have Kevin Jousset taking on Kiefer Crosbie. Now, both of these guys are making their UFC debut. A lot of them coming in with a decent amount of hype. You have Kevin Jousset, a fighter who is from City Kickboxing. A lot of guys over there have been really hyping about how good this guy is, but of course, I don't know how much you really want to take that into consideration, because if any of my teammates were fighting in the UFC, I'd be like, oh man, this guy is an animal. Watch out for this guy. He's going to come in and kill everybody, So I don't know necessarily how much I want to weigh that in against UFC talent. So, because we know he gets in rounds with Israel Adesanya. Adesanya's been talking about him, stuff like that. So Kevin Jousset's somebody that I actually have been looking forward to seeing. He is a pretty good striker, but he is a little bit on the slower pace side. He has a nice all-around game, but of course, his strength kind of relies on really picking his shots, taking his time. He's pretty good at what he does in that sense, but he's taken on, and this is why it's an interesting matchup, Kiefer Crosbie, who is a guy that is 100% offense. This dude has some offense that you really, really have to worry about, but the defense is really lacking for him. So there's a couple ways this fight could go. Kiefer Crosbie could come in and storm him, potentially get a knockout, or just grind it out to a decision against Kevin Jousset. Or Kiefer Crosbie could come in, all offense, ready to get at you, and then Kevin Jousset counters him and knocks him out. And we know those guys from City Kickboxing are quite good at doing that. So it's a little bit tough on how I can see this fight going, because again, I could see it going both ways this fight. Both guys seem like they're very good. I'm interested to see how they're going to do in the UFC, but I will be leaning ever so slightly to Kevin Jousset, because I have to trust in the rounds that he has been putting on with such great kickboxers, and I can very well see if Crosbie is a guy who's going to come forward, not necessarily, he has a history of throwing caution to the wind, but it's not like this guy's just a brawler. You know what I mean? He comes in, he can have a great offense, and he can get caught, and I can see Kevin Jousset doing that. So I'm not confident in my pick, but I am going to be picking Kevin Jousset to get the win here. Moving on to the next fight, we have Jung taking on Gabriel Miranda. Now, this is going to be 100,000% a striker versus grappler matchup. Now, in saying that, though, both of these guys don't necessarily shine in their departments, but this is definitely going to be one of those fights where if Gabriel Miranda can take it to the ground, it'll be quite a little bit of an easy night for him. But on the other side, if Jung can keep it standing, he should be able to ride home a nice decision win. Jung, we've seen him for quite a while right now. He is currently on a 3-fight losing streak, and it's tough because those losses, while the records for the losses are quite good, these losses don't exactly scream out okay, those are really respectable losses, especially this Blake Builder loss, because I was high on that guy initially, but I was like, okay, Blake Builder is not who I thought he was at all. So in looking at these losses, I don't like how they've aged, to be honest with you, in Jung. But he's taking on Gabriel Miranda, a guy who we know what he's going to do. You know what I mean? We know what he's going to do. He's going to come in, try to work the grappling. He came into the UFC against Benoit Saint-Denis, a guy who I am officially on the train of. Benoit is so good, and he's so good on the ground. So losing to him, there's absolutely no shame in it. And I understand that it's tough to say, because it's not it was a back and forth fight and Benoit Saint-Denis won, you know what I mean? So both these guys haven't looked necessarily the greatest. I just have to pick Gabriel Miranda, though. I have to, because even before the Benoit Saint-Denis fight, he's had some momentum here. Jung has not been looking good. Yeah, he comes from City Kickboxing, but the guy just can't string it together. And if Gabriel Miranda ends up taking Jung down, Jung doesn't necessarily look like what he knows, how to get up from the ground. It'll be a huge problem if Gabriel Miranda is able to take him down. I feel like he might be able to do it, man. I don't like the way Jung came back and looked in his last fight. I don't like the way he looked before that. I got to go with Gabriel Miranda, although, I'm not impressed with either of these guys. You know, that's the tough part. That's the tough part about this fight. So my pick's going to be Miranda, but the potential for Shane Young to keep it on the feet and keep it live is always there. Moving on to the next fight, we have another striker versus grappler matchup in Blood Diamond taking on Charlie Radtke. Now, Charlie Radtke isn't just a grappler, that's something to note, but that is definitely his strength. In Blood Diamond, we've seen, I'll start with him, his 2 really tough UFC losses, he had a little bit of a problem in the ground game, and he kind of got exposed, you know what I mean? So he's not been looking good. Again, he's coming out of City Kickboxing, so he's one of those guys. There's been a lot of fighters from City Kickboxing on this, so I don't know how much that'll help. But Blood Diamond, man, he came into the UFC. A lot of people were really high on him, but then it just completely fell over, and he doesn't look like the same guy. Charlie Radtke, coming into the UFC, has been looking very, very good. This dude is very, very strong on the ground, especially in the first round. The only worry for me in this fight is that he has very, very little of a gas tank, okay? He has some cardio issues. However, Blood Diamond, we know he has a weakness on the ground, and he's not even necessarily impressive on the feet, okay? So Charlie Radtke is going to be the pick for me. The only worry for me is going to be the cardio, but I can very well see him taking down Blood Diamond almost immediately and submitting him. The pick's going to be Charlie Radtke to win this fight, and he's going to come into the UFC with a nice win. Moving on to the next fight, we have Nasrat Haqparast taking on Landin Quinones. Now, Landin Quinones is coming off the Ultimate Fighter. Of course, he has a very, very nice record, but to be honest with you, if you watch any of his fights, there's nothing that really is impressive for you. He is an all-around fighter, but again, he's just one of those guys. Nothing about this dude screams good to me. Nothing about him screams good to me. So he's one of those guys who just has a very basic skill set. He'll do what he does, and he's been able to win his fights. Of course, he's getting into the UFC now. He's taking on Nasrat Haqparast, which, to be honest with you, I could kind of say the same thing where this guy has... Actually, to be honest with you, now that I'm thinking about it, it's a decent matchup because nothing about Nasrat really makes me go, okay, he's really good here. No, he just has a very nice all-round skill set. But the reason why I am definitely, and I agree with the odds so far, 410, and it's tough to say whether I'll be betting on it. Betting video coming out tomorrow, by the way, guys. So, Nasrat Haqparast, he is taking on some of the toughest fighters at lightweight. This guy's resume is absolutely fantastic. He's fought really, really tough guys, and not to say he's been fighting the top 5 or anything like that, but he has been in the UFC for a very long time. He has all the experience. He's been getting better and better every single time we see him. And he's had a really nice win over John Makdessi last time. So I got to go with Nasrat Haqparast. These fighters are kind of it doesn't matter where it's going to go. I just think Haqparast will be better everywhere. They both have decent styles and they both are decent everywhere. It's just nothing about both of them screams, okay, great to me. But I think Nasrat is definitely better than Landin, no matter where the fight goes. The pick's going to be Nasrat Haqparast, and I definitely agree with the odds on this one. Moving on to the next fight, we have Jamie Mullarkey taking on John Makdessi. I'm very interested to see Jamie Mullarkey back because if you took a look at his last fight, he took on Mohamed Naimov. Excuse me, I don't know what was wrong with me in saying that, but it's his UFC debut, and he just absolutely cleaned Jamie Mullarkey. The dude's been looking good. So he's coming off of 2 months ago, a very, very rough KO. But before that, Jamie Mullarkey, he's had an okay record. He's taken on some very, very nice guys, and he's always been a pretty good fighter, you know? Nothing about, I was just talking about the last fight. Honestly, there's so many, I could say a lot of the same things on this card. Jamie Mullarkey is just a very good basic fighter who has skill sets everywhere. He's taking on John Makdessi, who is a forward-heavy striker. He's been in the UFC for such a long time now. He has taken on really tough guys, but unfortunately, as of recent, he hasn't been looking good. He's still been taking on these very, very tough fighters, okay? His resume there's no slouch about it. The only problem is he's 38 now, and it's showing. He's been getting slower, and his style doesn't necessarily work in this lightweight division that's been evolving for so long. The pick is definitely going to be Jamie Mullarkey for me. I'm shocked. Assuming that this Tapology is up to date, I'm shocked that Jamie Mullarkey is only almost a 2-1 favorite. I think Jamie Mullarkey will definitely, he'll have the better cardio, he'll have the better skill set everywhere, he's going to be bigger, and nothing about John Makdessi is going to really, nothing about him is dangerous. So unless somehow Jamie Mullarkey's chin is completely gone and he's not okay after these 2 months of being knocked out, because again, that was a really bad knockout. Assuming that he's okay after all of that, I gotta pick John Makdessi, man. I gotta pick him against John Makdessi, excuse me. Yeah, I gotta pick him. He's just no matter whether they're striking, no matter whether they're grappling, Jamie Mullarkey will be able to bully him, and John Makdessi's forward pressure style will not work against him. I feel like Jamie Mullarkey will do what he wants in this fight, and he'll get a win. I can't believe I just said that. Moving on to the next fight. Guys, this is the fight that I'm looking forward to most on the card. We have Jack Jenkins taking on Chepe Mariscal. I love watching both of these fighters fight. I do want to talk about their last performance before anything because, okay, you know what? I'll just start with Chepe Mariscal. He wowed me in his last performance against Trevor Peek. He outpeaked Trevor Peek. He showed heart, determination. He overcame adversity. He had fantastic takedowns off the fence. This dude completely wowed me against Trevor Peek. And that's not to say that it's like the first time I've ever seen him either. He has been a very, very strong fighter coming up in the divisions, right before he came into the UFC. People were looking out for him. He wowed me in LFA too. This guy is somebody to look out for, in my opinion. This is a very, very dangerous fighter, and he has very good skill set, okay? He's taking on Jack Jenkins, who also has a very, very good skill set. This dude, so far, has looked absolutely incredible. I will say, though, something I do want to mention is his last performance against Jamal Emmers. I don't know what happened. I don't know what I missed here. The whole world was screaming robbery in this fight. I thought he won the fight. I thought Jack Jenkins won the fight. I will say it was a very, very close fight. But this fight was a war. He showed versatility. He showed heart. He has a chin. Cardio. His calf kicks are off the charts. That's why, guys, I cannot wait for this fight. I cannot wait for both of them. And the way both these guys fight, I don't want to see either one of them lose. But I will say, this is such a tough fight to pick, man, because Jack Jenkins will probably be the better technical fighter. But the question is, can Chepe, if he wants to explore the ground option, can he take him down? I don't know. Chepe is very, very good at bringing you into a war, while Jack Jenkins is so good going in and out with his counter shots. Chepe might have the power advantage. I don't know what's going to happen when these two collide, and that's why I'm so excited for it. Guys, this fight, in my opinion, is a 50-50 fight. This is the fight that I'm looking forward to most on the card. Both guys are so impressive. I'm really high on both of them. If you had a gun to my head, I'd pick Chepe Mariscal just because this guy has, both of them have heart, man. But Chepe's determination just seems like it's on another level. It really does. And that's not to say, determination will get you through the fight. Jack Jenkins could very well shut him down. This is a fight to definitely not bet on. I will take Chepe just because I have to make prediction for the video, but this is a 50-50 fight, guys. I'm so excited for this one. Moving on to the next fight, we have Carlos Ulberg taking on Da Un Jung. Now, guys, there's not too much to say about this one. Since Carlos Ulberg came into the UFC, he has been on everybody's radar, and he has been doing nothing but passing the test. Even his loss against Kenny Nchukwu here, he looked very, very good in that loss. You could argue, it was a fluke win in his, it could always happen. So, after that, he came in, looked a little bit hesitant in this next fight, but then it's just been tearing through all of his opponents so far. He hasn't had a close fight. He's been looking so good lately. His kickboxing's off the charts. I'm not completely on the Carlos Ulberg train yet. I'm not confident that he will get past the top 10 of the division. I'm not confident in that at all. I'll have to wait and see for that. But if he's taking on a fighter like Da Un Jung, Da Un is a very good fighter, okay? I wouldn't say very good. He's a good fighter. He's good in division, but Ulberg, the way this is matched up, Ulberg's just going to steamroll him. We've seen him KO'd before, but even in some of his good wins, nothing about him makes me think that he's going to offer any adversity to Carlos Ulberg at all. I'm with the rest of the world, guys. Carlos Ulberg is going to steamroll his way through this fight. He's going to get a knockout, and he's going to look even better. I just really want to see this guy fight the top 10 of the division. This dude's ready. I cannot wait to see how he stacks up against those guys because he could be something special. I'm just not on the train yet, but regardless, Carlos Ulberg is going to be the prediction here. Moving on to the next fight, we have Tyson Pedro taking on Anton Turkalj. Now, Anton's a very, very fun fighter to watch, and I always laugh at his nickname. Sometimes I forget about it. Anton, the Pleasure Man Turkalj. He's looked very good coming into the UFC, but of course, he is coming off of two really rough losses, and to those losses, there's no shame in those losses, to be honest with you. This guy is a very fun fighter. He comes forward with all of his might, whether he's striking, whether he's grappling. He's very, very offensive, and he will smother you. He will bring his heart into the fight, and he will make you fight. That's how Anton Turkalj, I like watching him fight. He's very fun. He's taking on Tyson Pedro, who I'm not so sure what to think about him right now, because he's one of those guys where everybody was super, super hyped on, but he's had some wins. he's had some losses. He's coming off of a really rough loss in this against Makdessi Bukalkas, but that loss is also aged okay. Tyson Pedro is a very strong grappler. He looks like he's powerful, but even then it's like, nothing about him like makes me really worry about his stand-up. You know what I mean? Of course, his strength will be the ground game, but here's how this fight, or why this fight, I'm having a problem picking it, because I believe this whole fight relies on Tyson Pedro's cardio. We've seen Pedro gas out before. He should be able to control Anton like we've seen Anton controlled before. But what happens after that first round? If Tyson Pedro gasses, Anton's not gassing. He's going to come out, he's going to impose his will, and he's going to make you fight while you're gassed. And then I could very well see Tyson coming out, winning the first round, and then the next 2 rounds, Anton completely takes over and gets a decision. If Tyson Pedro's gas tank lasts and he fixes that, then he should win this fight. So I'm going to lean towards, I'm like a 75% on Anton Turkalj to win this fight. So I like the way that he fights, and I think it's a bad matchup in particular for Tyson Pedro. However, Tyson Pedro might be a little bit more skilled when it comes to the ground game. I just don't trust his gas tank at all. The pink is going to be Anton Turkalj to get the win here by decision. Moving on to the next fight, we have a rematch from about 2 months ago. This is Justin Tafa taking on Austen Lane. This is a very, very interesting fight. People have been breaking it down a long time ago. People are breaking it down now. I'm excited for this fight because it's tough because, of course, we saw, like, what was it, 30 seconds? It was like 30 seconds. It was probably less than a minute that we've seen these two fight. Excuse me, I just spit on my screen there. That's pretty gross. Justin Tafa got poked in the eye, and he couldn't see, and the fight had to be called. So there's not much that we've seen. However, yeah, I'll get to it in a second, okay? So Justin Tafa, of course, he is a very, very powerful striker, but the striking is just about all that he has. He kind of reminds me of Mark Hunt, but like not so sloppy. His striking is very technical. He's very good at what he does. He's coming off of 2 really, really good KO wins, and then of course that draw to Austen Lane. Austen Lane is huge. Huge for heavyweight. This guy is, I believe he was a former NFL player. I could be wrong about that, but I know he was like some decently sized athlete. But this dude is huge. This dude is athletic, and it shows. He moves very, very well for the heavyweight division. However, he hasn't taken on a guy like Justin Tafa yet. So this is a little bit tough to gauge because can Austen Lane, I can see a world where he dances around, circles around, picks his shots, maybe shoots in for a takedown, and just overwhelms Justin Tafa because, again, this guy is huge. He's going to have a huge reach advantage, and he has a huge height advantage. Like, this guy is big. But Justin Tafa has great counter striking, and he could definitely knock Austen Lane out with one shot. He's one of those guys. So that's why this fight is very, very tough to pick. In that minute that we did see, or 30 seconds, or however long it lasted, Austen Lane was doing a good job in his movement, but we don't know if Justin Tafa is going to catch him. We don't know if Austen Lane can keep that up. It seems like he probably can, but what happens if Justin Tafa kind of brings him to a firefight a little bit? This fight is very difficult to predict. I'm going to lean towards Justin Tafa. I think at some point he'll be able to catch Austen Lane, and Austen Lane has not fought anybody to the level of Justin Tafa yet. I'm going to pick Justin Tafa, but I can very well see a scenario where Austen Lane pulls it off. I really can in this fight. This dude is huge, athletic. He could wrestle, okay? Justin Tafa is going to be the pick, though. Moving on to the next fight, we have Manel Kape taking on Felipe dos Santos. Now, Felipe dos Santos is coming to the UFC with a very, very good record, and a lot of people are really high on this guy. I saw him in LFA. He is a very, very come-forward striker, and he will try to take your head off. With that being said, though, he lacks a little bit of technical ability in that sense. He is very good at coming forward, and again, like I just said, he wants to throw everything with his shots, and he wants to absolutely destroy you. He's taking on Manel Kape, though. That's the problem. He is taking on, in his UFC debut, a guy in Manel Kape who has looked absolutely fantastic. He is so much better than his 18-6 record. His 3 wins here have all aged extremely, extremely well, and he's looking better every single time we see him. Guys, with a guy like Felipe dos Santos, he is very good at, again, he can bring you into a firefight, and the potential to knock you out is always there, okay? With a guy, especially his fight style, and he looks like he's quite good at doing what he does. But Manel Kape will have all of the other options. If he wants to take it to the ground, he'll be able to control the pace. He will probably have counter-striking for Felipe's craziness, offense that will be coming at him. I'm all over Manel Kape in this. I agree with the rest of the MMA community on this. Manel Kape is going to win this. I don't see a way that he loses, man. I just don't. He is a great fighter. He can explore any other option other than brawling, and he will be able to shut down Felipe dos Santos' game. Manel Cap is the pick for me. Guys, before we talk about the last two fights, I do want to give a shameless self-promotion here. Guys, I opened up memberships on the channel. If you access memberships on the channel, you will get access to the official bets that I will be placing. I will be using the community post every single Friday, so check the community tab on the channel. It might just come up on your YouTube page, but if you're interested, if you want to get the membership, every single Friday I will be posting all the bets, the official bets that I'll be making, how confident I am on them, potential parlays, all that kind of stuff. Everything that I will be doing, you'll be able to see. So if you are interested in that, or if you're just interested in watching the betting guide, that's completely free. But I'm not going to say officially what I'm going to be betting on, but if you're interested, again, it's there. Thank you very much for your time, guys. Let's talk about the co-main event. Moving on to the co-main event, we have Tai Tuivasa taking on Alexander Volkov. We all know what's to come with both of these guys. Tai Tuivasa has actually had a rough couple fights. Before this little loss streak that he put together here, he was on a very, very nice win streak, but these wins have not aged well one little bit. To be honest with you, I was completely shocked that he beat Derek Lewis. I thought if he was going to get into a firefight with Derek Lewis, he was going to lose, but it all made more sense in his last two losses. Of course, Cyril Gane absolutely destroyed him on the feet, and then Sergey Pavlovich destroyed him as well. Tai Tuivasa is coming off of two really rough losses where he took a lot of damage. So that's something we need to take into consideration. Although Tai Tuivasa is still young, sometimes we forget about that. He's 30 years old, so eventually the damage is going to catch up with him. I don't know. He's been taking a lot. Like that Cyril Gane one was bad, and then he got finished by Sergey. So it's tough. It's tough, okay? Tai Tuivasa is not looking so good. But Alexander Volkov, as of recent, he's looked very good. In his UFC run, he's had some wins. He's had some losses. Alexander Volkov is a very, very good technical fighter, and his losses have aged very well. He's coming off of two very nice wins against our Jairzinho Rosenstruck and then Alexander Romanov, who he shut down the game of Alexander Romanov. A lot of people, I believe, I remember saying this fight was close. I don't remember who my official prediction was, but I did not expect to see him just destroy Alexander Romanov. I did not expect that, but now, after seeing Alexander Romanov, a little overhyped, you know what I mean? So here's the thing. Alexander Volkov should win this fight. He is better technically. He's bigger. He's going to have the reach. He's very good at using his reach. But Tai Tuivasa is one of those guys that you can never count out. Bam Bam's power is always going to be there. All it takes is one shot for you to catch, and we've seen Volkov chin before. Tai Tuivasa is perfectly capable of doing so, but if he doesn't, Volkov will pick him apart, and it will look like a Cyril Gane versus Tai Tuivasa, except not nearly as vicious. Alexander Volkov is going to be the pick all day, but of course, it's that heavyweight fight. You can't count out Tai Tuivasa, but Alexander Volkov is definitely 100% going to be the pick on my end. Moving on to the main event, we have Israel Adesanya taking on Sean Strickland. Guys, if you're interested, I made a whole video breaking down this specific fight, but man, I don't have too much to say about this fight. Israel Adesanya is going to pick Sean Strickland apart and potentially KO him. Some people are saying, oh, well, Sean Strickland's training with Alex Pereira. I don't care. Sean Strickland's going to walk in with that iCarly stance, and he's going to get finished. Do I hope Sean Strickland wins? Absolutely I do, but there's no way, man. There's no way. Adesanya, like, we all know what to expect with Israel Adesanya. He's a very good counter striker. He's one of the best strikers in the middleweight division, if not the best striker in the middleweight division. He's coming off of that win against Alex Pereira, knocking him out. I am shocked that happened. I thought the era of Israel Adesanya was over. But looking at Sean Strickland's record, okay, he has a loss against Alex Pereira there, of course, and this is going to do the same thing. Like, you can't, a striker as good as Adesanya and Pereira, you can't walk in with the iCarly stance just like this. You know, you can't do that. You're going to get chinned. Adesanya is going to chin him bad, man. But I will say the Jared Cannonier fight, he absolutely got robbed in that fight, in my opinion. I'm looking at Sean Strickland right now like he's coming off of a 3-fight win streak. Jared Cannonier, I don't know what the heck was happening there. I can't believe he lost that fight. Like, it was a win in my books. But then he had a very nice win against Nasrat Imavov and then absolutely destroyed Abus Magomedov. The only way Sean Strickland has a chance in this fight is if he explores the ground game. We all know that he has it in his back pocket. He just refuses to use it, and I don't think he'll use it. He'll want to beat up Israel Adesanya. The only thing that, like, to go with that, the only other thing that we can talk about with Sean Strickland is we know he's been putting in work with Glover Teixeira and Alex Pereira. That could really elevate your ground game. That could really elevate your striking. If Sean Strickland comes in looking different, maybe he has a chance. But if he comes in, and, like, to be honest, this could be a live betting situation. If he comes in with the iCarly stance, he's going to lose this fight. Adesanya's going to pick him apart, find his chin, potentially knock him out. If not, it's going to be a very easy decision for Israel Adesanya. I do not see Israel Adesanya losing this fight. I completely agree with the minus 600 favorite. Sean Strickland just does not match up well for him. I just think Israel Adesanya is going to do what he does, but I hope Strickland takes the win. Adesanya is going to be the pick 100% for me, though. With that being said, though, guys, that puts an end to this full card breakdown and prediction video. Thank you so much for watching, everybody. Let me know what your picks are going to be down below in the comment section. If you have time, I'd love to hear your full card predictions. Drop them in the comments down below, guys. I will be responding. Thank you so much for watching. But if you want to continue watching the Clenbat channel, there'll be 2 videos on screen for you right now. Check them out. I will see you either there or in the next video, guys. Take care.